Episode 39 of Strange Brow Radio. I'm your host, Toad Johnson. Thanks for tuning in and subscribing to the channel. Without you, well, I'd just be talking to myself inside the Airstream, which I guess is probably a stairway to craziness. We don't need that. All right, today's guest is Alex Witcombe of Canada, driftwood artist by day, experiencer by night. I'm talking the alien road. We're going to have to go down it. And Alex is the man. He has had quite the lifetime of experiences, I would say, and some breakthroughs maybe on the show. Alex Whitcomb in a moment, but thank you to our sponsor, Feral by Aaron at Etsy.com. Now's your chance. Go on to Etsy, like, and hit the little heart button. They've got all these algorithms. They're causing all sorts of problems for Etsy sellers. And check out shaman-inspired drums, rattles, and smudge fans by a great sponsor, Feral by Aaron. Gorgeous stuff. And next, Alex Whitcombe, experiencer. We'll be right back. Alex Whitcombe, Canada, an experiencer. Lifelong experiencer with an incredible story and some revelations about maybe why he's been chosen to be an experiencer. And is that even the right name? After you hear Alex's story, maybe that's not the appropriate way you would title what has happened to him. More than an experience. So keep an open mind, and I have a feeling this is going to be one of several interviews down the road with our experiencer, for lack of a better term at this moment, Alex Whitcombe. We're here today with Alex Whitcombe in Yield, Canada. How you doing, Alex?
Pretty good, eh? How you doing there, Cole?
That's good.
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
He's sipping a can of kokanee right next to Renee DeHinden in a cozy atmosphere.
Yeah. I got a campfire going. Sun shining. Apparently full moon tonight. So I don't know. Life can't get better.
No, yeah, I forgot. We're doing a show on the full moon. That's kind of a big deal across the world.
We are.
Yeah. Well, maybe something special will happen on the phone. You never know.
You never know. It has before.
Yeah. So, Alex, you and I started talking on and off here regarding some similar circumstances, and we just kind of communicate off and on, throughout the week and kind of check on each other as far as strange activity. And I'd heard you before on Strange Familiars and wanted to talk to you myself about some of the stuff that had happened to you. But I really like to focus in, since there's so much in your toolbox as far as the paranormal is concerned, and we could go any which way. We decided to focus in mainly on the alien stuff, and maybe that's my own bias, because I'm curious, because there's so many more holes in the Swiss cheese world of the UFO lore, and I feel like these holes are getting filled up a lot quicker than anything else that we're looking at. We're in the wake of disclosure, for example. Slowly but surely we're coming upon it. So why don't you walk us through the beginning of your story and just lead us right up to the edge of where you noticed that things were happening specifically to you.
Well, okay. I guess my personal story begins a long time ago. Because I had seen lights and odd things in the sky as a kid. My mom, I think when I was 3, saw a full-fledged disc. I think that was 1978 or 79. Right outside our farmhouse, just swaying back and forth, full, floating leaf motion, just hovering over the pond there, lights blinking on and off around it. I didn't actually know this story. I knew she had some sort of experience, but I didn't know this until probably about 3 years ago, like the full account. And I had gone through my experiences in 2005, which were incredibly intense and kind of world shattering. And I basically said, "Mom, how have you never told me this before? Like, are you kidding me? how am I just learning this for the first time?" But I had seen some odd things in the sky as a kid. Some broad daylight, some I was kind of called out to the lawn to sleep, in the lawn at night at our family home, and seeing weird zigzag lights in the sky.
Well, let's go to this moment here where you're called out. What do you mean by that?
I've had this happen again, 2005 and later as well, where you just feel like a calling, a pull to go outside and just look at the stars. And every time I feel that like pull, it's a very noticeable like pull, especially when you look at it in retrospect. Something happens, right? So, and I've heard this from many other people before, even in this last year. I've met someone who lives on Quadra Island as well, and she's had that same pull. She just wakes up in the middle of the night, and I got to go outside, and oh my God, what the hell is that? So, I guess I guess you could call it a calling, like, hey,
Mm-hmm. But this happened to you as a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did. Yeah.
And so you would just get up as a child and excuse yourself in the middle of the night from your house, not tell anybody. And would you remember anything once you got out there?
Just grab my sleeping bag and,
mm-hmm.
and go out in the lawn and watch the stars, and inevitably, like, things would show up, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as I know, this phenomenon goes back in my life to as far as I can remember. Like, I think the first, that zigzag one that I saw, I was maybe like, I don't know, 8 years old or something. I think we have just moved into that house. But it could definitely go back earlier. I mean, my mom had that encounter, and she doesn't remember. I asked her, I was like, "Well, what did you do after you saw that?" And she was like, I have no idea. I think I probably checked on you kids." So
okay.
it could go back, pretty much all the way. But I don't really have any proof of that. But it's definitely been a presence in my life.
So you saw sightings throughout your childhood. You had sightings when you were a teenager, and sightings through up till currently, right?
When's the last sighting I had? That must have been like 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years ago. 2 huge bright lights in the sky. And they seemed like they were connected, like one craft, because the back one was dimmer and it was blocking out the stars. And yeah, it what an awesome moment. Like, I came out there specifically to star watch and see if I could see any activity, right? Because I see these blinkers all the time. And you're familiar with those, right? Like the flashes in the sky. I mean, that's where I heard the term blinkers is from
Right.
one of your podcasts.
Well, it's only because we don't know what else to call them. I'm sure on,
Yeah.
Planet Zipzorp, they have a much cooler name than blinkers, but down on Earth, we call them blinkers. Yeah.
Well, I always try to like rationally explain that away as I do. That's the first step. Is just like, okay, well, let's see, okay, if we can just rationally explain this, and I came upon like the notion of space chunk reflecting sunlight and doing big flashes. But some of these flashes are so huge, and they kind of continue, and different colors. I even I was working for a NASA engineer once, and I brought it up to him. I was like, hey, like I know there's satellites, and I know what satellites look like, but I've seen this phenomenon in the sky, like these flashes, like, and I know what iridium satellites are. Is that what they're called, iridium or iridium? I know what they look like, and I described to him what I've been seeing. He's like, I got no idea. I don't know. So yeah.
I'm shocked
so, yeah,
I'm so shocked that people say they haven't seen these because they're so pronounced and so obvious.
They're so pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've brought friends. I was living at my friend's house once, and I've seen them in a particular spot in the sky. I'm like, text them, oh my God, there's UFOs out here. You got to come out. And they saw them too. Like, it's not like a localized personal phenomenon, and like other people see these, right? And I'm sure you've had the same experience, but I like I couldn't find a lot of info on the web about this phenomenon. And what I could find was like, oh, it's just space junk. I'm like, well, okay, but yeah, that's pretty damn bright. When you get a flash that looks like, half the intensity of, maybe the sun or something like that, it's like, come on, something more going on there.
Okay, let's go back in time a little bit here. You mentioned your mother's also had these experiences, and maybe some of the things you were saying there made me think maybe that she had some kind of lapse in memory towards her experience. Is that what you're picking up on with her?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was more happening, or I feel there was more happening there. Particularly because when I went through my experiences in 2005, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't remember. I know it's there, but I just couldn't recall it. Whether it's my own rational mind blocking stuff out, or whatever, or maybe they're doing it, doing the whole memory lapse thing. But I know there's a lot more there. I just can't recall it, because every time, most of these times when I would have these experiences and start to like have that holy shit moment, like, whoa, this is happening, it'd be like blackout, boom, and then wake up the next day and not even recall it right in the morning. You wake up and just like do your, brush your teeth, go to the washroom, start making breakfast and coffee, and then boom, all of this stuff goes back. Like the whole night comes back, but not the whole night, not the whole experience, but what you remember. And literally it dropped me to the kitchen floor, like, every time, and shaking, crying, like it was intense. It was so intense.
So okay, so how many times have you blacked out right after a sighting?
Well, the whole blackout thing would be during my encounters in 2005, which spanned about 2 weeks. But you know, if I was to see something in the sky like the blinkers or the two big lights or you know, those kind of things, there's no blackout there.
Okay.
It's just you know, go on with the normal day or the normal night.
I want to get to 2005 because I can tell that those 2 weeks are something very unique to the rest of the story here. But so I want to talk about your family first. You have your mother. You have brothers and sisters experiencing this too?
No, I don't have anybody experiencing this. As far as I know, I'm kind of the only one. Yeah, I have 2 sisters. They've never experienced anything like this. I only have the one thing from the one encounter story from my mom in you know, 78 or 79, and I've kind of pressed for my dad, you know, like, hey, you know, I go through a lot of stuff. I'm kind of like researching the family, you know, lineage. You know, have you had anything? He's just like, no. But yeah, he's gone through some weird stuff. Not necessarily, you know, paranormal stuff directed to him, but and I think this might be like, I'm still researching this. He was involved in a classified project, unclassified and classified project, funded by the U.S. Air Force down at Catalina Island in 1977, involving Ingo Swann, Hella Hamid, and apparently I just teased this out of him like 2 months ago. 2 other psychics, a Russian psychic, and he didn't go into the other one. But it was the main unclassified project was psychic, like a psychic sequest. So
he was a part of like a remote viewing. Pre-op exactly. In the 70s in Catalina he was a part of the Canadian Air Force down there.
No, he was a submersible pilot. So
okay,
he was operating the small submersible that they were using to go verify this information that Ingo Swann and Hella Hamid had remote viewed, right?
Okay.
Dale Graff was the liaison with the Air Force. That's where the funding came from. Russell Targ, Hal Puthoff from SRI. I think they came up with the experiments along with Dale Graff.
So let's wait a second here. Hal Puthoff here. Tell people, I know who this is just based upon Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy. If anybody's following what's going on with UFO disclosure and Tom DeLonge and Hal Puthoff was one of the real groundbreakers as far as the science behind remote viewing. And so your dad is immersed in something extremely top secret at this point.
Yes, extremely top secret. Yeah. Okay. Totally. It's declassified now. And really, I only learned about the unclassified project when my mom told me her story, her full story. I was like, "What about Dad?" And she's like, "Oh, well, he was on that program In Search Of with what's his name, Leonard Nimoy." I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?"
Wow.
So there's an episode called Psychic Sequest where you can see the whole thing, the whole the unclassified project.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny to see, like, it was so funny to watch that. I was like, holy crap. But after doing my interview with Jason Horsley earlier this year, one of the things he was kind of poking at me was, is there any military involvement in your family? And I was like, no, like, my granddads were in World War II. And it's like, really? Okay. Do you live around a military base? Yeah. I've lived around Comox military base for 15 years, but that's just, Canadian forces. Like, and it kind of stuck with me, that that notion of military involvement. And I had never done really any research into this before. So one night I'm sitting around the campfire. I've been camping outside for like 4 months this year, and it's given me a lot of like reflection time. And that kind of popped up in my head. Oh, okay, yeah. What about what my dad was involved in search of? Like, who funded that project? So I go on this deep dive and figure out it's Project Deep Quest. It was the experiment that kicked off another 20 years of U.S. military funding into remote viewing and psychic research, especially involving Targ and Puthoff. And I was just blown away. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty big military involvement there in my family, and it has to do with psychic research and remote viewing. So yeah, there's a definite connection there. I'm still trying to pull threads and do the research on this and see if there's any direct involvement into like how this ties into my experiences throughout life. But I do have a hunch, let's say.
Right.
And my dad is.
Go ahead. Sorry.
My dad is still super cagey about it. Like, a couple months ago, like when I asked him about it at dinner, he came up here for dinner, and I kind of brought it up, and he's just like immediately on the closed up, on the defensive, and like emotionally and mentally, and I was like, yeah, man, like let's see the goods.
Right.
But I don't think he's talking. I think he's still kind of under that kind of classified notion. So yeah.
Well, do you know it?
He'll do the excuse. Sorry, what's that?
Well, I was going to ask, is he still think it's a classified project that he can't talk about? Is that what he's trying to do?
He probably hasn't looked at it for like since way back when. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I did tell him, I'm like, oh, come on, Dad, you can talk about this now. Look, it's declassified, like, And he's like, oh, it's so long ago. It's like,
I know, yeah.
I know you know something. Yeah, I know you know something. Yeah. So it may come about where he,
Well, I remember listening to interviews with Ingo Swann circa, probably the Art Bell days, and he would talk about something of a bleed over effect when they would remote view. He said when you're viewing at something, things can view back at you because you basically open this doorway to try to get to your target. But there's other things that are out there watching you as well. And that part was always unnerving, not only as a listener to hear about, but I could tell that Ingo was a little bit, apprehensive too. But do you think that has something to do with the amount of sightings you've had?
I think that has something to do. I mean, like I'm the only one in the family that has this, and I've got a lot. Like I've had so many experiences, and it just seems a little okay. It just seems too tied in. Like there's a huge tie-in there, and it feels to me that like I was 1 year old at the time that my dad went down for those classified and unclassified projects. I was just a wee babe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that I got noticed somehow, and that may have contributed to something. I'm still parsing things out, right? Like I really just learned this information like a couple months ago. So
Okay.
yeah.
Let me ask you some off the road questions here. Were you ever in the foster care system for any kind of time, or in a care
No, I was
facility?
not.
Nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
No, I've already looked into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you haven't been removed for any,
No.
certain amount of
No.
time and messed with?
No. No.
Okay.
No. No. It's not like a Strieber story or anything. Yeah. It's no. That didn't happen. So.
What about nightmares? Nightmares that aren't nightmares?
Nightmares that aren't nightmares.
Yeah. Vivid dreams, things
Give
that,
me a little. Oh.
yeah, sleep paralysis with the vivid dreams.
I've had vivid dreams since I was a kid, like insanely vivid dreams, and a lot of repeating dreams, like very, very intense repeating dreams. One I've had specifically since I was a kid was looking up at all the stars in the sky, and to me they're just stars, and then they start to move, coalesce, dance all over the sky, and I know something huge is happening, like a just like a massive shift has taken place. And that one's been I haven't had that dream probably for about 10 years or so, but it has been through my life as a repeating dream for sure. So that's one of the notable ones. But yeah, my dreams are insane. Like I can't even tell you. Like I can't even write them down because the amount of information that's encoded in these dreams, like symbology and connections, and it's just too much to translate back into the physical world, right?
Well, are you dreaming of things that are coded? Are you dreaming of code? Are you dreaming of language? Are you dreaming of information, data?
No. I would explain it more as symbology that I can't quite understand.
Okay, give us an example.
I understand it in the dream awareness, but when I get back to physical reality, that symbology kind of dissolves, right?
Okay, it makes sense there, but it doesn't make sense here.
It makes sense there. It makes complete sense there, but it doesn't make complete sense here. There's just a veil drawn up that you can't really, maybe if I was a more practiced dream practitioner, I could maybe kind of parse these things out and tease some knowledge from them. But yeah.
Well, now knowing that your own father, flesh and blood, was involved with something like remote viewing, which is a technique that can be learned, is that something that you've ever thought about looking into yourself?
Well, I think I kind of do it naturally.
Okay.
Like I've kind of done it all my life. Whether it's precog or remote viewing, I have seen these places. I've gone to these places in dreams, have a full dream there, and then they show up. And this happened as well in my 2005 experiences, very vividly, where I know I have never ever been to these physical locations, and yet I know intimate details about these locations prior to that. So whether that's precog or whether that's remote viewing or whether it's kind of a mix, I don't know.
Okay, give us an example of a location.
Let's see. Okay, I had this dream probably about 2 years ago, where I was in the basement of this house, and there was a little girl there, except she was like a corpse, but animated. She took notice and was kind of following me around the entire dream. And I really remember this, like I don't think she could speak because she showed me that she had no tongue, because she put her like whole hand up through the middle of her jawbone and stuck her fingers out of her like mouth, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It was very, very vivid, and I was like, whoa. And so we traveled around the outside of this house, big blue house, white trim, deck, porch, right by a river. The road is curved, yada, yada, yada. The dream goes on, the dream goes on. And, I wake up the next day. I was like, oh, wow, that was a really like wild dream. A few months later, I'm delivering a sculpture down in, what's the town? I can't even remember the town's name right now. It's near Ladysmith on Vancouver Island. And so I delivered the piece, and I was like, oh, I've never been here before. I want to like check this out, because I didn't even know about this little community down here. It's right by the ocean. I want to kind of check out and see if there's any driftwood down there too. And literally like drive by this house and search my brakes and go, holy shit, that's the house from my dream. Exactly. And I know I've never been there before, but there it was. And I was so tempted to like walk up to the door and knock on the door, but like, yeah, strange guy driving by just decides to, rap on someone's door and say, hey, I'm interested in your house. I had a dream about it. No, that doesn't fly with a lot of people. So,
Right. Do you have
I decided not to.
Do you have a girl with a missing jaw that sticks her hand up at, just regular
exactly.
questions like that? Yeah.
Yeah, regular question. Hi, I was just wondering if
Right.
if there was ever a death of a little girl in the basement here or something. No. So I let that one slide. But that's an example. I mean, there's so many that go back, to my youth.
But that's a huge moment. I mean, that's just an example. That's a huge example, really. And everyone's had glimpses of this, but you're saying that this is a regular thing that you do. I mean, when you dream, they lead somewhere. They're random.
Yeah, they lead
to a point, but then they're kind of time stamped for a future event.
For a future event, exactly. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, whether that's precognition or retrocausality or remote viewing, I'm kind of leaning toward the remote viewing aspect of it, because I have, I've done a lot of out of body work, starting in 2002, and I think that might have something to do with it. So, yeah.
Okay, so you were already having astral projection on top of these precog dreams?
Yeah, the precog dreams or remote viewing dreams happened like way, way back. I had never had sleep paralysis though until 2002, and that was kind of the kickoff to the whole 2005 experiences. Me and my then girlfriend, who became my wife pretty soon after that, were renting our first house. And we were avid like nature explorers, and we were really into mushrooms at the time. We'd go out and pick mushrooms to eat, chanterelles and morels and whatever is around here. And we stumbled across a patch of liberty caps. And we were like, oh my God, hallucinogens. Hey, do you want to do some hallucinogens? So we picked these things, but it was such a meager score. Like these Liberty Caps are not like the other psilocybins. They're just tiny, tiny little things. When we dried them out, they were just like, a handful, not even. And so we made some tea out of them, and we didn't feel anything. Like, obviously, it was just such a tiny, tiny little amount. I mean, yeah, we're not going to feel anything off that. I had experimented with mushrooms for a couple times, as a teenager, but it wasn't on this kind of intent. It was just kind of a party thing. And but we were very respectful of what we found and kind of honored it. But we didn't feel any hallucinogenic effects, and basically we just like, oh, okay, well, guess we'll do something else. And she went and read on the couch, and I went to lay on the bed and to read. And while I'm lying there, these waves started coming over me. Like they would start at my feet and go all the way up to the top of my head, and it was like a zoom, zoom. Felt like electric, but more dense. Kind of like a really fast cloud of like bees or flies, like just going through your body. And I was like, oh, whoa, what is that? Because I thought it was like, something from the mushrooms, like maybe a after effect or something, even though we didn't feel anything. But from then on, every time I would go to sleep, lay my head down, these vibrations would start to like rock through my body. So I was very curious. I was like super curious. I'm like, okay, what is this? Like, I don't think this is some kind of medical condition I have to be worried about. I was just like, what is this? And it wasn't too long after that I came across like a encyclopedia of the paranormal, I think it was called, that a friend gave me, lent me. And I was just going through that, and I came upon out of body experiences. I was like, oh, that's cool, yeah. And reading the information, often out of body experiences are precluded by vibrations that course through the body. I was like, oh, well, maybe that's it. All right, well, if that's it, I'm gonna see if I can take this further, because I mean, I've had flying dreams. To have an out of body where I could just be like lucid and like go flying was like, what an awesome experience that would be. So yeah, I started to experiment with this technique. I guess I tried to pull a lot of intent behind holding these vibrations in my body, because they would always just like pass through. So I envisioned like the vibrations as a baseball that I would catch, and that worked. So I caught them in my body, but then I was like stuck in this paralytic state, right? And it would just be like, and I couldn't move. I was like totally freaked out, because I had never had sleep paralysis before, and I was totally freaked out. I was tried to like yell to my significant other at the time, wake her up, because I'm like freaking out because I'm paralyzed. Eventually it passed, and I was like, the next day I told her what happened, and she was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. So despite the initial fear of that, I was still so curious. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, I still want to go out of body. So if this is the doorway to out of body, let's do this thing. And I applied more intent. And eventually one time I was laying in bed. I was in that paralytic stage. The vibrations are like held in my body. I was just like, out of body, out of body, out of body, out of body, out of body. And just like popped right out of body, like from the ankles, like I don't know, those old movies where you see Dracula rising a crypt, like, yeah. And found myself at the foot of the bed, totally amazed, like, holy shit, I did it. And as soon as I said, holy shit, I did it, like I'm back in bed in normal physical reality. So, yeah, I was pretty stoked on that. I was, okay, all right, let's go forward with this. And the next time I did it, I fully got out of body and flew around the house, played with my dog, and it just, I kept on experimenting with it for about 3 years, and it was awesome. Like I miss those days. I really do. I can't do it anymore. I got some hurdles and trauma to sort out before I can get back there.
Right. Well, what's fascinating too is you say you're playing with your dog, so your dog is totally aware of this moment.
Well, whether it's my physical dog or the astral version of my dog, yeah, he's totally aware. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you about 2005. Let's take a break here. We'll pause for a commercial, and we'll be right back with Alex Witcombe.
Strange Brow Radio presents a podcast live from the Manresa Castle in Fort Townsend, Washington, October 25th from 7 to 11. Mystery event will host legendary Bigfoot researcher Ron Moorhead, as well as some ghost stories and info on the practice skulls. Consultant for the LAPD, psychic reader Sarah Nash, and Fire Shoot, the cameraman behind the infamous floating video. Go to manresacastle.com.
All right, we're back with Alex Witcombe here, and Alex, we started off getting to know you and your story as far as seeing things in the sky that seemed abnormal. You found out that your father had this incredible history with not mind control, but with remote viewing, possibly mind control along with remote viewing. They might have mixed the two together. And then, of course, your sleep paralysis and your out-of-body experiences. And we hinted at this year, 2005. And so let's start with what happened and when you noticed things were going to kind of ramp up, or just give us your best recollection of 2005.
Okay, well, it was the summer of 2005. I was in between my years at art school. And I had been doing out-of-body training for probably about 3 years, almost 4 years at this point, getting quite good at it, from my perspective, my standards. And one thing I really liked to do was make these training grounds. I would, when I would get out of body, I would, I don't know, not even construct. I would just envision these massive, like, buildings, huge, tall buildings, almost Tetris style, like skyscrapers, but the inside was entirely hollow. Black walls, but with a green grid on everything. And I would practice flying. That's the main object, or the main objective of creating these these environments was to practice flying and have fun doing it, because I loved it. I mean, the feeling of flying is just like, it's just pure joy. And that's one of the things that I just loved about being in the astral, was you left all your earthly worries behind. It was just pure joy. You're flying. You're just totally carefree. But that was soon to change. So as I'm flying through this, Star Trek holodeck-ish kind of skyscraper, I noticed something. And I'm looking down. I was like, there's something there. There's something looking at me. Something is looking at me. And I'm like being paid total attention to. And I'm like, well, I got to go see what that is. Who's watching me? What is watching me? And so I fly down, and just before I get to the grid there, my eyes pop open in physical reality. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. That's never happened before. I normally have pretty good control of when I actually want to come back out of body and back into physical life, because I just say, oh, open your eyes, and open my eyes, and I'm back in bed, and then I can go to sleep. Let's see here. So I thought that was weird, and notable, but it's one of those things where you just put on the shelf. Okay, write that down, put it on the shelf. But the next night, I had a dream, and this is in dream awareness. I wasn't very lucid. So, dream awareness, pretty foggy, and, things are, it's kind of like a movie, right? You're just like almost an actor in a movie. I hear a knock at the door. I get up from my bed. I fly to the front door, open the front door, and there's a 4-foot tall gray standing there, down the steps. We were a second-story house, so he was down the front steps, and he didn't actually speak with his mouth, but he was, hey, sorry to bother you, sir. Having some trouble with my craft. I was wondering if I could come in and if you could help us. And at that moment, I envisioned his craft, I felt his craft on the roof, disc-shaped, just perched on the top of our house roof there. And I was just like, oh yeah, sure, come on in. Yeah, I'll do, whatever you need. And that's all I remember about that dream. Wake up the next day. Oh yeah, that was a weird dream. I dreamt about this alien at the front door. And then the next night after that, I awake to find myself in the paralytic stage. So I can't move, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm all geared up at this point for an out of body. I'm like, yeah, it's out of body time. I wake up in the middle of the night. I got the buzzing. I'm ready to go. So I try to get out of body. And at this point, I'm like I know how to do it, right? But I find I can't. I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on? I can't. There's this blockage, this stoppage. And then I notice that there's something to the right of me on my side of the bed, with all of its attention at me, pointed, wow. And I'm like, I'm sleeping on my left side towards my partner, and I have my back towards this thing, but I can feel it. I can feel it looking at me. You know, when you can feel someone looking at you in real life,
sure,
physical life, you know, times that by 20 or something like that. Just like, you know, something's like right there, and I'm like, I gotta know what this is. Hey, Kirby, settle down, man. Sorry. I'm like, I gotta know what this is. I gotta know what this is. What is this? Something's looking at me. Something's right by the bed, and I'm still paralyzed at this point. Kirby, you wanna go inside? No, come on. Sorry, just putting my dog in. In you go.
Maybe Kirby's picking up on something.
Okay, so still doing the interview. So yeah. Okay, where was I?
Okay, you feel the deep feeling someone's watching you.
Yes. Something is watching me. Something is right there by the bed. I can't see it, but I can feel it intensely. So I mustered up all of my intent to break out of the paralysis, and that was a lot of will to do that, because I'd never actually done that before. Whenever I was in paralysis mode, it was always a gateway. There was always a doorway to out of body. So why would I go the other way? But very, very hard to break out of the paralytic paralysis. So I eventually did, and when I did, I snapped out of it and flung myself over. And when I flung myself over, my arm flew over and landed on a little wrist that promptly took off out of the bedroom. And then I blacked out. So there's one of those blackout stages. Went to sleep, woke up the next day, didn't remember it until, in the kitchen. And then it all came flooding back to me. And like I said before, I just dropped to my knees in the kitchen and started shaking, crying. I was like, holy shit. And my partner's there, and she's like, whoa, what's wrong? I was like, holy, I had this thing and I touched its wrist. It was by the bed. Claire, my partner at the time, was incredibly supportive of my experiences during this time. She's a very open-minded person, and but still, 2 weeks of that stuff, and it was getting a little much for both of us, especially because I wasn't sleeping and she wasn't sleeping, and yeah, so anyways, so that continued pretty much every night. There was 3 nights where the only three nights that I knew something didn't happen is when I woke up and didn't basically cry in the morning. I woke up in the morning, and I was like, and I knew they had left me alone. It was very, and those were just moments. Whew. I don't know if I can't remember if I thought, oh, maybe it's over. I don't think I did, but it's nice to have a bit of a break from that kind of, I wouldn't call it assault, but that kind of unknown goings on. So yeah, the next night after the wrist thing, I found myself in the paralytic stage again, and I could feel them right there again. So the first one that came to the door, I call the Inquisitor. He was just like inquiring, hey, can we come in? And you hear that a lot in other sorts of phenomenon, black-eyed children and whatnot.
Yeah, let's talk about the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so you look down the stairway, you see the entity already in the house at that point?
No, he's outside of the house. He's like three steps down on our landing.
Okay, so outside the door, and you open the door, and
the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you know that
there.
how do you know someone's at the door?
I just got up, and I think I heard a doorbell or something, or a knock on the door. I don't even think we had a doorbell. No, just a knock on the door. I just got up and went to the door.
Okay.
And this is out of body too, or not out of body, but it's dream.
It's a dream state.
Dream awareness, right?
And do you question whether or not this was a dream, or do you think it was a dream?
As opposed to what? Dream versus out of body, or dream versus physical life?
Well, right. Is this a moment that you're processing as a dream because it's too crazy?
I think probably. Yeah, because there's this. For me, there's this spectrum. There's like this. You go from little dreams and processing your daily life. What happened at work today, and then you get into bigger dreams, and I think it's just all one big swath, one big spectrum. Little dreams, big dreams, lucid dreams, astral travel, and goes beyond, So
once the Inquisitor asks you,
I don't really want to separate them. I just want to clarify that I was in dream awareness, which is that typical, you're just kind of running through the dream and you don't really have any choices. Yeah.
Once this Inquisitor asks you for help with something that could be seen as advanced technology on the roof of your house, are you perplexed over why something would need your help with advanced tech?
Absolutely not. At the time, no, no.
But looking back, that sounds pretty, flabbergasted. I would think.
Well, it just sounds like a way to get in, Because I'm a pretty altruistic person. If someone needs help, someone's stuck on the side of the road, I'm obviously gonna pull over and see if I can lend my assistance. So it's kind of in my nature to do that, So maybe these beings, these entities, they had already sussed out that that's kind of intrinsic in my nature, and that's just an easy in for them. And I don't know their motives.
So at this point, though, when they ask you for help, you don't have any memory past the point where you said, I'll offer you help.
No.
Okay.
No memories.
And nothing's come back to you in over 10 years since then, getting close to 14 years now. Okay.
14 years? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. But I know I know there's more there because my body tells me that there's a lot more unprocessed information. I can feel it. When I was first talking to Tim about this, that's still an unreleased segment of the episode. I went right back to it, and it shook me. And it's pretty intense. It's the most that's the most trauma I've ever been through in my life, and that's only the stuff that I remember. So, yeah.
How much detail do you have surrounding what the Inquisitor looked like?
Typical gray. Typical gray.
Okay.
And when I say typical gray, I'll say, you know, yeah, he was, you know, the skinny limbs, very, very, very thin facial features, you know, like the mouth and the nose, no ears, large head, black almond eyes.
Mm-hmm. And alone?
Yeah.
Nobody else with him?
No, and I couldn't sense anybody else in the craft too. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just the one.
And did you say you even sensed what the shape of the craft was like?
Yeah, disc shape, like
mm-hmm.
classic disc shape.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't actually see it. I just knew it was on the roof, and I don't know, maybe if it was actually there, maybe I was remote viewing at the time. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew what it looked like, right? Yeah.
Do you have any memory at all of being taken in any way, shape, or form? Or do you want to know?
What do you mean taken?
Well, I mean, were you abducted? Do you feel like there was any kind of...
No. I think it was all like physically, in terms of like physically abducted. No, I don't think so.
But I'm kind of shocked at the way you just say, no. You never even toy around with the idea that they're borrowing you occasionally?
Well, perhaps I'd never thought about it till this point because I was so almost entrenched with the idea that this was all out of body. This was all in this other plane of awareness.
Right, but then you
really
have you have a dream, right, of reaching over and touching something. So there's a physical ramification to this too, right?
Yes, there is physical ramifications, and it shows up later. Yeah, I had marks.
Okay, let's talk about that. What do you mean you have marks?
Okay. Let's see. Well, I kind of want to do the. If it's okay, I'd rather do the kind of chronological order.
Sure.
Yeah, because that gets into the nurse, and there's still more about like there's scouts. Like the Inquisitor is the first one. The scouts are the next. The one that I touched the wrist of.
Mm-hmm.
I call that the scout, right?
Okay.
And so the next night after the wrist thing, I woke up paralyzed, and I was on my left side again, or no, I was on my back, and I felt them like roll me up onto my left side, and I couldn't do anything. I'm totally freaked out at this point. And I knew they were doing something on my back, but there was no like physical sensations. I just knew that they were like, I don't know, maybe just examining me, just like taking me in or something. Yeah, and then there was the whole succubus time where I woke up. I thought I was in a great sex dream, right? And I knew it was a sex dream. I was like, yeah. And I'm laying down, and there's this woman on top of me, and I'm like, okay. And so I reach my hands up to her breasts, but when I feel her breasts, it's like hard and like scaly. I can still feel that right now. That is so weird. I mean, this was 14 years ago. I can still feel that feeling. That is screwed up. And as soon as this is one of the points where I kind of expressed agency. As soon as I realized that, no, this wasn't a sex dream, this is one of them, I grabbed it around the neck and pulled it down towards my chest and held it there. And while I'm holding it there, I'm yelling for my wife at the time, Claire. And I'm like, Claire, 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 Claire. And as I'm doing this, you know how like when you're splicing video together digitally, and they give you all these like transitions, like a cross dissolve.
Yeah.
It was like that. So if you're looking at one scene and it cross dissolves into the next, that's what it kind of was. Like I felt myself like totally holding this being, and then it just totally cross dissolved to me clutching my fists and my arms against my chest like as hard as I can. But beforehand, while I'm clutching this being, I'm yelling, Claire, Claire, Claire. And when I, after the cross dissolve, I hear myself going, Claire, Claire, Claire. And it's totally strained, like hilarious paralysis voice. But the funny thing is, she was having a dream at the same time where she was at a concert in a crowd. So she was at the front of the crowd and she was enjoying this concert. And from the back of the crowd, she hears, Claire, Claire.
Wow.
So it kind of became a running joke between us. We had fun with that. So it was a little bit of humor within the 2 weeks. Yeah.
And she was at a Succubus rock concert, so that's super ironic.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, there. Okay, that leads us up. So we got Inquisitor, Scout, and then the Succubus, and
but wait, now we have Claire, right? Let's talk about Claire. Claire's your girlfriend. She wants to be there for Alex, during his time of need. But yet this is getting intense. I mean, super intense.
Mm-hmm. Super intense. Yeah.
And so, are things wearing thin with her? Are moments wearing thin with Claire? Is there friction starting to develop?
No. Like after during the first weeks, like she was really like concerned, obviously, but she was very curious as well and fascinated because she's had her own set of crazy experiences throughout her life. Not like this, but she definitely knew that something was going on and to pay attention and offer support, right? But a week and a half goes by and I'm not sleeping at all. I'm dreary. I can barely even work. I'm fed up. And she's tired too, because what I'm doing at night is huddling like super close to her and not going to sleep. So she, we both have our own like space in the bed, but I'm invading her space. So she's not getting her rest. She's not getting her, and it starts to affect her day, and she starts to get tired.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So it's putting stress on the relationship.
It is
to some degree.
Yeah. Like a week and a half later, it's definitely stressing us both out.
So there's like resentment building up over the stress over feeling.
I don't think there's any resentment on her end. I think she's just like, I'm kind of tired of this. Like,
mm-hmm. Right.
Maybe we could do something about it, or yeah.
But you must be getting more angry at the phenomena.
Hell yeah, because it's totally disrupting my daily life and my nightly life, right? And prior to these experiences, I'd always been curious in aliens, but I was always on the ETH kind of nuts and bolts kind of idea. And this just threw me for a freaking loop, like kind of mind shattering. It's nothing like I thought an alien encounter would be. You see a light in the sky. Oh, this craft comes down. That
Right.
door opens and these three beings walk out, and those kind of stories going back way far. And it was so different and so unknown, and I think that's why it kind of rocked me so hard. And because I was rocked so hard, and Claire's an empath as well, so she had obviously been picking up on all of my stuff as well, all of my emotions and fear and trauma. So we were a very, very connected couple, and almost to the point of, literally to the point of like knowing what each other was going to say, next, even if it was just the most outlandish thing. So now that I'm looking back at that, she was probably soaking up a lot of stuff just from just energetically, and I can see why she was getting fed up and getting tired as much as I was.
She's not getting visited at all at this point.
No.
Okay.
No, it was just focused on me. No. As far as she knows, the only thing that really, came about of this regarding her experience was the whole Hilaire dream. So, yeah.
Now, is she seeing phenomena at all? Is she seeing lights at the same time you're seeing lights? Is she experiencing anything like apparitions, ghostly activity?
No,
Nothing like that.
No, the one night, actually, this was one of the nights where it was, I didn't have anything happen. Like the next morning, I didn't have anything happen. I wake up at like 2:30 or something, and I have this pull to go outside, like I was telling you about earlier. I have this pull to go outside and watch the stars. And I kind of nudged her to sleep, awake, and I was like, "Hey, Claire, you want to go? Do you want to go watch the stars? We'll get a glass of wine and sit on the porch. And it's a beautiful summer night." So she was like, "Yeah, I would like that." So we're out there, and I don't know, within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I focused my attention on this one star. I was like, "What is the deal with that star? What's going on? Like, it just looks like a star in the sky, right? What? I don't know, there's something going on with the star." I'm not verbalizing this to Claire. I'm looking up at the star that has some kind of like, what's going on with this star, And as I'm thinking that, it just like starts to move very slowly to the right, and just tuck behind a cloud, and it doesn't come out. I was like, "Oh my God, that star just moved." But she didn't see it. Yeah.
But she was there, and she missed the opportunity to see what you saw.
But
So
she
she's
was
not
there.
experiencing any of this.
She's not experiencing any of this. No.
So she's
No,
just
it's all
experiencing the after effect of you having these experiences the entire time.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's incredibly frustrating for you.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm feeling better too. I don't want this stuff to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't want to be like sidled up to her in bed and like clinging on to her, like awake all night. that's not cool. I'd rather just be like sleeping on my side of the bed, and like nice and content, and we both get up and have we've had a nice night's rest and go about our day. But this is happening to me, and I did feel bad for her.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went through the Inquisitor, then the Scout, and then the Succubus, and then what happened?
The nurse. Again, I find myself in dream awareness, and I find myself in this circular waiting room. There's a kind of a 3/4 circle of like brown leather seats, couches, and I'm sitting on the one end. I can see a couple doors ahead of me. Across the 3/4 circle, there's another guy there, like a younger, like Asian guy, and just sitting there with his like hands on his knees, hands on his lap, right? Like I'm doing. We're just both sitting there with our hands on our lap. And from behind me, this 6 foot tall nurse, very exaggerated features, large head, large eyes, small mouth, skinny limbs, and dressed in like a cartoon nurse uniform, like you'd see in the Looney Tunes or whatever back in the day, like a 1950s kind of style. And she leans over. She puts her hand on her left hand on my shoulder and leans into my right and holds out her hand. She's like, "Okay, it's time for your haircut now." And dream awareness, I'm like, "Okay, haircut time." So I follow her into the doors that are there, and it opens up into what looks like an office, like a waiting room office space. Over to the left, I can see a curved, like wooden desk with stone facing on the bottom, and then behind that, there's a tall, like chimney-esque thing. It's all the same stone. There's a picture window to the right, which displays the Comox Glacier, which is where I was living at the time, was Comox Valley. So you could see across the estuary, and you could see it's a very iconic image of that glacier. And then to the right, there's 2 rooms. So there's 1, 2. She leads me into the second room, and there's a table there. It's like a massage table, with the round like face hole. You put your face in and lay down on your stomach for a back massage. She's like, "Okay, lay down. It's time for your haircut." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, haircut time." And so I lay down, and she takes out this thing. It's like a clamp thing. So it's got one, I don't know, like 4-inch circular metal thing in the center, and then 2 bars coming out either side, and then these kind of circular handles on the ends. I guess all in all, it's probably like a foot long. And she clamps it onto the back of my neck. And at this point, I'm like, well, this is a weird haircut. I've never had a haircut like this before. And that's all I remember about that one. And then I wake up the next day. I remember the dream. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, that was a weird dream." And but at least they didn't, come get me last night. And because it's still dream awareness. So dream awareness is not da. And it didn't really affect me trauma-wise in the morning. But I was landscaping at that time. I was doing a landscaping job, and in the afternoon, about 4:00, I was pretty much done for the day. So it was hot outside. I take my hat off, run my hand over my head and get all the sweat off. And as I'm running my hand down the back of my neck, I feel this crunchy stuff on my fingers. Like, what is this? I thought I like gotten something from the brushes or something from the bushes. And I look at my hands and it looks like dried blood. I'm like, oh, what did I like poke myself or something? Doing landscaping, thorns or something. And I pick a little bit more off. I'm like, what the hell? This looks like dried blood. So I'm very curious, and I go home. Claire gets home from her job, and I'm like, hey, can you like look at the back of my neck here? And so she does. It's just, holy shit. You have a millimeter hole in the back of your neck. Like a perfect circular hole. And that was like, I wish I had pictures of it, We didn't think to take pictures of it at the time. I don't know why. But, yeah. And then, like, right then, like, when she says, like, you've got a millimeter hole in the back of your neck, like, that dream came back to me again. And I was just like, come on. Oh, no. So it was starting to bleed over into, like the physical.
Right. Literally bleed.
Literally bleed. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this whole dead center in the back of your neck, like right below the hairline kind of deal?
Yeah, dead center, exactly where the clamp was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. Who knows? That could be stigmata. Me actually like taking that dream, that experience in the energetic astral reality and turning it into physical form, but I have no idea.
Okay, so again, Claire is experiencing this trauma through you, not experiencing it herself. What happens what happens after this?
Well, there's the impossible fly, and then there's the final boss fight. But
wait, the impossible fly and the what?
The final boss fight.
Okay.
Yeah. But if I could just like stick with this one, to nurse the hole in the back of the neck.
Okay.
2 months later, I had a job doing masonry, or I was just getting a new job doing stone masonry, and I was with this guy, and we got into a car accident. We were stopped. There was a car in front of us, old station wagon, that was trying to pull over a double yellow. And we stopped, and the tree trimming truck with full trailer that was going 50, 60K slammed into the back of us. Really wild experience. But I ended up getting some like physio time from the insurance. So I thought a massage would be really good because my neck hurt from the accident. So I looked in I actually looked in a book, the yellow pages, or the white pages at that time. So I looked in a book for a phone number to see what massage places were available, and I picked this one, Comox Harbor Massage. So I was like, okay, well that let's go with that. I've never been there before. Call for appointment, have the appointment, show up, and as soon as I walk through the doors, it's exactly the same as what the nurse brought me into. There's the desk, there's the curved desk with the stone in front of it. There's the stone kind of like chimney behind it. There's the picture window, Comox Estuary, Comox Glacier, and the 2 rooms. Okay, this is the weird thing. She asked me which room I want. Like, why wouldn't she just lead me into a room? What does it matter to a massage therapist whether, which room I want?
Yeah.
And
weird.
so she says, "Oh, which room do you want?" And I point to the second one. I'm like, "Not that one." But I'm always curious to, like, what was in that room? What would have happened if I was in that room? But I was in room number 1 for my massage. So yeah.
Well, were you apprehensive to follow through with the appointment given what happened in your dream?
I was a little bit, and I'm pretty sure I was a little more tense than usual.
Right.
I didn't enjoy the massage. It was no. It was not a good massage. Not in any reflection negatively towards Comox Harbor Massage. I'm sure you do a great job, but it was just my circumstances there. So I just want to make that known.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have this moment there where, you have these abilities to predict through space and time what events may occur down the road. And this is 2005. But now you're saying that this latent ability to do this, has this dwindled down over time?
I think it's dwindled down since then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it very distinctly happening a lot of times prior to that. But I mean, there was that time, it was only like 3 years ago. I had that dream about the little girl, like, reaching her hand through her jaw, and then seeing the house after that. That was one of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like, yeah, you still got the shit, dude. So,
Right.
And I don't feel that's in any relation to the, quote unquote alien experiences. I just think it's something I've had for, all of my life. So.
Well, at this point, are you feeling as though this is alien?
Well, that's interesting. That's a good question. I think I only felt it was alien because they presented themselves to me like that at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the craft and the typical gray at the door, and and the lights in the sky. Me being called out, 2-3 in the morning, and seeing the weird light that didn't, moved, but didn't, just hid behind a cloud, never showed up again. So I was making these leaps.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty young back then. I didn't know much about this stuff, especially the weirder side of it. So yeah, I was kind of making that leap back then.
Right.
But I'm not so sure anymore.
Okay, and then you said something about a remarkable fly.
Oh, the impossible fly. Yeah.
Impossible fly. Yeah. Okay, what happened there?
Yeah, the impossible fly. So one of the nights I find myself sitting on the side of my bed, hands on my lap, totally paralyzed, like just staring straight forward, and this huge, like, wasp fly comes into view. It's probably like 1.5 inches long. And I am actually a little allergic to wasps. So I take great caution not to screw around with them. And I've been stung in the past and always swell up dramatically. So I don't know. It's like they're playing on my fears at this point. And, I was doing landscaping at the time. and this is like late summer, so the wasps are kind of getting, you know, little aggressive, and this 1.5-inch like long fly wasp comes and like lands on my leg, and then like starts crawling up my leg, and I'm looking at it, I'm looking down at it, but I've still got my head straight forward. I'm looking down at it, and I'm like, don't sting me, don't sting me, don't sting me, whatever you do, don't sting me, don't sting me, don't sting me. And I get this like sense of like, yeah, it's gonna happen there, bud. And like just plunges its abdomen and stinger like right into my leg, and boom, boom, you know, and blackout until the next day. I wake up the next day. I do remember that dream, but I kind of catalog it as a dream, you know, and I'm just like fearful of these things, and I'm just making up dream stuff. So at this point, we're doing renovations on the house.
Well, wait a second. You wake up, you just got stung in the dream state, but there's no swelling on your leg?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
And I didn't think to check for any marks,
Mm-hmm.
which was, again is odd, because I had that hole in the back of my neck. Yeah, so we're doing some renovations at this point. I'm renovating the bathroom, and my task that day is to replace the window frame in the washroom above the toilet. So I'm doing that. I'm standing above the toilet. It's probably like, I don't know, 3:30 or 4, and I'm getting the window frame done, and all of a sudden, this huge, absolutely massive 2-inch horsefly flies into view, looked at me, like pointed direct, like looks at me, like its eyes are like looking at me, and it's going, and I swear, man, 2 inches long. And I freak out. I absolutely freak out. I scream, high-pitched scream, like not man scream, like high-pitched scream. I scream because these fucking eyes are just looking at me, and I fall off the toilet onto my ass. I scurry out of there on my ass, close the door, and go to Claire's side of the bed, and basically like fetal position until Claire gets home. Claire gets home from work. You know, I think I'm there for like almost an hour, I think. Claire gets home from work. She sees me like huddled by the bed. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, there was a fly. It was this goddamn fly. And this is at the point where she's fed up with this. I'm fed up with this. And I couldn't explain what happened, right, to her, or I didn't even bother or whatever. And she just kind of looks at me. She's like, okay, yeah, like, you know, more of this stuff. But like after that, I did try to look up, like, well, okay, well, is this a natural species that is around here? Like, we do have horseflies in British Columbia, Vancouver Island. What do we got? So, and I went as far as to emailing the University of British Columbia to see if you know, they had any info on this, and there's nothing like that around here. Like, there's nothing like that. The biggest horsefly in the world, I think, is like maybe inch and a half long, and that's in Europe. I think it's the black horsefly or something. Nothing like that around here. So that was actually the most frightening, which is weird. That was the most frightening aspect of that entire 2 weeks was seeing that fly. And I'm not sure why that was. It was those eyes, just those big eyes staring at me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, great. I mean, grays
So,
have big bug eyes, so.
yeah, they do. They
Mhm.
do. Yeah. Yeah. And there's more to the impossible fly story, but it happens much later. I think it happens 2015. It kind of coalesces, and
Mhm.
I get this message that, hey, yeah, we're still here. But we can go into that after if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, at this point, I'm like solidly fed up with this. I'm absolutely bagged. I'm done. And the one night, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I do not want this anymore. Claire's sick of this. I'm sick of this. I'm done. So when I went to bed, I focused all my intent to let them know that I don't want this anymore. You are not welcome here. I don't want this anymore. And during the night, I don't even know what time it was, but whatever. I find myself in the paralytic stage or paralysis. And I was like, okay, there's one of them in the kitchen. There's one of them in the kitchen. So I was possibly allowed to float up out of body because it was very, very easy. I'm like, so I soar up out of body and fly into the kitchen. And there's a little boy standing there, probably about 3 feet tall. But he doesn't look like a little boy. He looks like looks like all business. But, kind of like the nurse, how she had this enlarged head, enlarged eyes, small features, small limbs or skinny limbs. He was like that. He's just standing there in the middle of the kitchen. And when I say all business, he's in a business suit. So, but it's a small business suit. Like he's 3 foot high. And he's got like, black hair that's kind of neatly parted on one side, huge eyes, and he's just looking at me. And I fly up to him, and I get the sense like, well, and at this point I'm so enraged. And this is just so in such contrast to what it used to be like with me with out of bodies. Like it was just complete joy and carefreeness. And here I am, like just absolutely enraged. And I just start wailing on this little dude, just punching him in the head. But it's like punching like a tank or something. Like nothing's getting through. I'm just like bam, 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 over and over and over again. And he's just standing there. He's like impervious to my punching. And I get the sense that it's like, well, you had the choice the whole time. Okay. Well, so maybe I called this stuff.
Well, wait, how do you interpret that?
Initially.
How do you interpret that as far as you had the choice the whole time?
I mean, they gave me a choice in the beginning. Can we come in? And I'm like,
right.
Sure.
But do you feel that way in the waking world? Do you feel like that was where you were personality-wise, inviting a mystery like the Greys into your life? Is that something you regret?
Not at all. No. Even though it was like intensely traumatic, not at all. I mean, holy shit! Like, talk about one of the most fascinating experiences I've ever been through. And reality breaking, right? Like talk about like fostering a new awareness of the world, of reality, and the possibilities.
Right, but it's fracturing things around you too. I mean, this is incredibly difficult on your marriage at this time.
Oh, it wasn't too bad. Like it was just a couple, it was just a week of stress between me and Claire,
Okay.
and we were the kind of couple that would get past those things pretty easy, so.
Okay.
It's just because we were so freaking tired all the time. There's something to be said about a good night's sleep, for sure. And if sleep deprivation, too many nights in a row can really screw you up. Yeah.
Okay, so what measures are you taking to protect yourself besides trying to stay up all night?
Back then?
Yeah.
I didn't really know any protection stuff back then. I do now, but back then I really didn't. I was a noob. This was all new to me. And like I said, reality breaking. So I as well as being sleep deprived, I was in this like state where it was fracking my awareness. Yeah. Whatever these beings are, they were.
Well, being sleep deprived and feeling, experiencing all these things while you're sleep deprived, was there a moment where you felt like you were kind of mentally collapsing?
No, I don't think so. No, it like I knew this stuff was happening, and I was holding my mental faculties, for sure. It was just so intense and so traumatic that it was definitely having a negative impact on daily life, on waking life.
Okay, so what happened after you said there was another moment after the fly?
Oh yeah, the impossible fly returns. Impossible Fly Part 2. 2015. My little sister and my nephews were down from a terrace, and I wanted to do something cool with my nephews, so I decided to take them to the Trent River and look for fossils. It's good fossil hunting ground, so we bought a couple of hammers and we took them out there, and we're just having a great day. Nice sunny day. Trent River is beautiful. We're picking at rocks, and at one point, I'm by myself. My sister and nephews are just upriver, and I hear this like right behind me. And I look and I turn around, and there's this 2-inch friggin' horsefly on its back, struggling, like right behind me, like 2 feet. I'm like, whoa. And at this point, I didn't clue in to 2005 experiences. I'm just like, holy shit, that's a big fly. So I put my rock hammer on it, right? Or no, I gave the kids the actual rock hammers, but I was just using a regular hammer. And I put my hammer on it, and I guess the hammer, not the handle, but where the handle connects to the head, is about 3/4 of an inch, steel. So I just want to like check this out. So I like put that part of the hammer over this fly just to like look at it, and it's sticking out like 1/2 inch on each side, right? And I'm like, holy shit, hey, I'm like, Chantel, kids, get over here. This is like wild. I've never seen one of these. What the hell is this? And we're all looking at it, and kids are like, ew, ew. And I was like, okay, well, I lift the hammer up, and it kind of like gets up and just flies away, goes down the river. So yeah, 2-inch horsefly, they don't exist, especially around here. But one just happens to like fly down the river, land behind me, and then get up and take off.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent about another half hour there, and then I decided to drop them off at my mom's. And on going to my mom's, there's a very like sharp, acute corner that you have to slow down, like really. You have to basically go like 10 kilometers an hour around this corner. And I had a right-hand drive vehicle at the time, so I was in the right-hand seat. My sister's in the left-hand seat, and she's talking to me. And so I take this very acute corner very slowly, and there's one car, and then there's two cars. The second vehicle is a like a 1990s Toyota truck, silver, extra cab. I totally remember. Yeah, chrome mirrors. I can see it. And as I'm passing this vehicle, I notice, because I'm kind of looking at Chantel, like when I'm talking to her, I notice this dude in the driver's seat of the Toyota, and he's got both hands on the wheel, 10 and 2, and he's just staring at me, absolutely like locked eyes. And as I drive by, his eyes do not break with mine, and it's almost like his head was on like a little swivel, But one thing I noticed is that his eyes were completely black, and it wasn't a trick of the light. I knew this, and I felt the most intense like fear as I like passed him. I was like, holy shit, Chantel, did you see that? You see that guy? She didn't see him because she was looking at me. I'm like, that dude had like completely black eyes. And she's like, oh, whatever. I'm like, no, you don't understand. He had completely black eyes, and he was like locked eyes with me. Yeah. So, and I felt like that fear that other people feel when they see these black-eyed entities, beings, children, women, men, whatever. So that was a little like, because if it wasn't for the black-eyed person there, I would have written off the fly. I would have been like, oh yeah, that was a odd fly, whatever.
I know what you're getting at. You're talking about, right.
Yeah, because I saw the black-eyed being, black-eyed man, I connected. I made the connection. Oh my God, the fly. Oh my God, the impossible fly. Oh, the eyes. So yeah.
Yeah, we've spoken about that before. How there's this tip of the hat. Almost. Did you appreciate the work I did earlier? And then they just kind of tip their hat, like as an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're still here. As much as you think we're not, and you kind of like sent us on our way, we're still around.
So you have these marks on you. Do you have any reason to believe that those marks have to do with your experiences?
Which marks?
Well, you said that you want to talk about it later, that you have, I think you said, several marks on you. Do you feel like you have implants as well?
Well, I don't think I do have an implant. I don't know.
Do you want to know?
I can't say one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't really give a shit. Whatever. If there's an implant in me, I don't know. Whatever. But
Well,
I did go to the dentist. I did go to the dentist, like, I don't know, like, what was that, 4 years ago, and I got X-rays,
mm-hmm.
and I was very disappointed because they did the whole, like, they did almost a 360 around my head, right? And I wanted to see, like, the back of my head to see if there was, like, any stuff back there. I was like, no, you didn't sweep the back of my head. I can't see if there's an implant there. But the dentist actually said, oh, there's this one weird anomaly in your lower right molar, in the back molar. It's like it looked like a little grain of rice,
mm-hmm.
like a dart. On the X-ray, it looked like a little grain of rice in my back molar. And it's like, I have no idea what this is, because there's no cracks in your molar, or like there's nothing. I was like, oh, well, that's probably the alien implants. Wink, wink. He did not find that funny. He said, I don't know. Maybe there's an implant in my molar. I have no idea.
In the area you live, where most of these experiences happen here in 2005, were there any reports, via the newspaper or TV or MUFON regarding other people that had experiences?
I checked in briefly with the Vancouver Island website. There was sighting of lights in the sky, but no, I never really heard anything about other people being, having close experiences. So,
did you get any kind of physical evidence out of this at all, Alex? Did you walk away with anything tangible besides the hole in your neck?
I did not. No. And had I thought about it at the time, I would have kept that fly when I had it pinned down by the hammer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that might have been some kind of evidence, but no, I don't have anything. It's just, I have stories, and these are my stories. This is what happened to me. So,
Well, I mean, you have more than stories. I mean, you have detailed memories over things, and you're trying to suss out what is the dream state and what is reality. I don't know. Have you ever been interested in trying to suss those out through regression?
No, I don't want to do. I thought about that once, but the more I looked into hypnotic regression, the more I steered away from it. Mm-hmm. There's just too many stories of it coloring the experience, providing memories that aren't actually memories. So mm-hmm. I'd rather find those on my own. I'd rather find those on my own. And I know that someday that they're all locked in there. I know mm-hmm. they are. They're all in there, and they're kind of waiting to be discovered. So mm-hmm. I don't know whether maybe it's just I need to reach a certain point of awareness to access them, or really go through the trauma and sort through the trauma and accept the trauma and allow the trauma to pass. And then, I'll uncover some other things regarding that.
But yet you wouldn't trade this experience in for anything. You call it trauma. There was no way to really protect yourself from the trauma as it was happening. But because you got a peek at something behind the veil here in one of these secret schools, you'd do it all over again.
Yeah, I would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
And you can
Totally.
understand Go ahead.
I know. I hear that from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the most traumatic thing I've ever been through. But you know, do you want more? Yeah, I kind of want more. I kind of want to. Yeah, I really want to go out and see Sasquatch again, or I really want to. You know, yeah.
Yeah, we should let people know that this is only the beginning of a whole host of other experiences that are probably just as equally traumatic.
Yeah, in terms of me.
Yeah, I mean, we've only touched upon one level of your experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't fear as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my toolkit. I've got confidence in experience, and I really don't fear anymore. Yes, I do have this locked away trauma that I'm going to have to deal with at some point. Like, you know, so many people do. But you know, when I come across an experience now, I come at it with my toolkit. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't, you know, if I want to experience it, then I will, you know, look at it further.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's, you know, something like a shadow being, like trying to, like, you know, do whatever they do, you know, to try and induce fear in me, and I'm just like, you know, fuck off, buddy. No, you're not having it. I'm not having this. No, go away.
So we're talking shadow beings, Sasquatch. What else? Go down the mugshot lineup of characters that we're talking about.
Oh, well, possible Sasquatch. We don't know if that was Sasquatch. It could have been the little people. Could have been a witch. I term it the Sasquatch. Yeah, that's a whole another story. Yeah, the shadow beings a couple times. I've had some crazy shit. Exploring inner journeys, doing inner journeying. That was quite intense. Claire and I had this encounter with this one energetic entity when we were first looking for a place, and that continued all the way up until 2015. We both had multiple encounters with it, and then I started getting more into it and being more curious, and yeah, that turned out to be pretty freaking interesting. And I still can't wrap my head around why it chose. Maybe it chose to disguise itself in that, you know, Lovecraftian mask. I have no idea. What else?
What about
time
slips, hauntings?
Yeah, time slips, time travel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Poltergeist activity.
Yep. Yeah, poltergeist activity. Yep. Yeah, I've had stuff. You know, I'd just be sitting there writing to someone. This wasn't too long ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Just sitting at the dining room table, writing to someone about a experience. I remember that. I don't remember what the experience was. And then like this, my headlamp. That's what it was. My headlamp just like popped off the table. Just like there was this audible like bang. And my headlamp just like shot off the table and like went back down. Nothing to do with the batteries. I checked, you know. Yeah.
What about encounters with owls?
No.
Nothing
No,
there.
all my owls have been owls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
mantid type beings at all? Any insect or reptilian
No,
type things? Nothing like that.
no, nothing like that. No.
Hmm. How about
No.
bad luck?
Bad luck.
Yeah.
Well, I can say bad luck, but I know it's not bad luck.
Hmm.
I know it's me going through vicious energetic cycles that just keep on popping up, and until I deal with the energy behind those cycles and the origin of
Hmm.
those cycles, then they're just going to keep continuing. But I've had some great experiences of and great insights
Hmm.
into breaking these cycles and finding out that that the cycles that were induced by this trauma as a
Hmm.
kid, well, that actually wasn't your trauma. You're an empath. You soaked up somebody else's trauma very
Hmm.
close to you and held it as your own for most of your life. And guess what? That affected most of your relationships, pretty much all of your relationships. And now that I broke that cycle, my relationships are completely different. So, and much more, positive.
What about angels? Have you ever had a visit from something that seemed like it was angelic?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
no,
And of course, you've
no.
seen the lights in the woods.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I haven't seen the lights in the woods. I've seen them in the sky.
Hmm. But nothing down in
Yeah.
the tree line.
No, no. And I
Okay.
was expecting to see, Tim asked that as well. Did you see any
Hmm.
lights in the woods in Hope? And I was definitely expecting to see lights there. But no, we only had like just the most bizarre. Well, I mean, we had vocals and smells and uh, well, and that witch
Hmm.
woman and Colin got chased through the woods and then all those
Mm.
crazy freaking noises at the end of the night, which you would assume if there's railroad workers there doing work on a railroad, which is kind of what it sounded like, there'd be lights. It's only 300 feet away. You can see the railroad. So, but there was no lights, which perplexed me.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Wow.
would love to see an orb, though. I'd love to see the orbs. I think that'd be awesome.
Before we went on air, you said things had kind of started to occur. New things started to happen. Do you feel like you're kind of at the beginning of a new cycle of the paranormal? Can you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
predict a new? Okay.
I definitely feel that. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm getting more immersed. I'm immersing myself more in it now. In looking at it, and especially making connections and contacts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which seem to be producing some really interesting stuff. Like I've had several very odd synchronicities with Tim Renner, with the podcast I did with him, that were very, very like, wow. Like he says, wow, like, wow, this just happened, and you just sent me this. Holy shit. I still don't know what they mean, but they're there. So yeah, I guess the thing I can really take from this, and I'm going back to that whole holistic notion, is that everything is connected. And that is one of the things that I really enjoy about looking at this phenomenon, is looking at the connections and how the connections seem to kind of come alive. Especially between people who experience the same things, people who are looking into the same things. It's a fascinating web that, if you choose to used to, notice it. It's very noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah.
And so we need to tell people a little bit about what you do as a side business, because if people don't know that you're an amazing artist, they should know. And
Oh, thank you.
you work your ass off as a self-employed artisan that works with driftwood, and you do these amazing hand sculptures. They're just they're lifelike beyond belief. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go check out Alex's website here. Tell them a little bit how people can get in touch with you and look up some of your work.
Okay, well, website is being redone right now. Should be up in a month. Drifted Creations art.com. I think that's what it's called. You can check all of my work out on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, Drifted Creations Vancouver Island, and Instagram, Drifted Creations. That's Drifted, DRIFTED. Most people kind of, lapse. I say Drifted Creations, and they say, "Oh, Driftwood Creations." I'm like, no, Drifted Creations.
Okay.
So they automatically go there. So it is Drifted Creations. I'm getting, this next year, I'm getting a lot more into the paranormal themes. I have done an 8-foot Sasquatch on Quadra Island, which is pretty popular around here. But things are merging. So the wildlife. I've been doing a lot of driftwood wildlife because that's very popular in terms of commission work. But I'm really gonna start focusing on merging my interest in the phenomenon and my driftwood work.
Right. Yeah. That, in fact, the experiment that we were talking about earlier, maybe just going out into nature and putting something together of found objects, natural found objects, to see what happens.
Exactly.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. That could be very interesting. And like we were saying, I think that'd be a really interesting experiment to do when I'm down in Washington there.
Yeah. Well, we'll let people know more about that next year and see what we can pull off. But we're both makers and we enjoy doing it. And your Bigfoot actually is, if people haven't seen the Sasquatch, I just encourage you to just hop on Google and type in Drifted Creations Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and I'm sure it'll pop right up. But you do a nice 360 gimbal pan of the beautiful Sasquatch there. So it's an elegant piece. It's hard to describe, but it's life-size, lifelike. And how do you take driftwood pieces off the beach and make a lifelike sculpture? Well, you have to go see it for yourself. It turns out that driftwood actually has a lot of beautiful curves and natural curves that kind of look like muscle and tissue and bone. And so you took advantage of nature in that way, and it's something remarkable.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, very satisfying and tactile medium to work with, and totally random, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never know what you're going to get. Yeah.
No. All right. Well, I thank you for talking to me and telling everybody your story here. And I have a feeling
thank you.
Probably be talking again in the future. But anyway, I appreciate it, man. And you have a good evening.
You have a good evening too, Tope. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Again, thank you to Alex for coming on, telling his story. All right, we need to get a little business out of the way here. Again, you can go on to redcircle.com and find us there at strangebrow.com. This will be our last upload to Podbean. I don't think we will have a way to upload it after this. So if you want to subscribe, go to redcircle.com and look us up, or YouTube. I'm doing my best to get all the archive stuff up. I think we're maybe 10 episodes shy of where we are now. So this is episode 39. I think we're around 27 or 29.
we're getting there. So we'll catch up here soon enough, hopefully in the next week. Meanwhile, if you want extra shows, I'd love to give them to you. The best way to do it is go on to patreon.com. We can't do this show without a little love. And the best way to show that is a financial contribution of a small amount. If you want extra content, you can do that. There's 2 different levels. There's the extra level and the reserve level. And extra podcast once a month, maybe twice a month, maybe 3 times a month. We'll get them out there. And then the reserve level, which is $6 a month, that'll be your chance for video content, audio content. And what do I mean by audio content? I mean out in the field, we'll be doing some stuff. And the video content should be pretty exciting because a lot of the stuff coming up at Manresa Castle are going to be hard for a lot of people from all over the world. I understand that, to get to a castle in Port Townsend. But now's your chance to virtually get there. And so we'll have video footage of our live podcast we call Podcastle Live at Manresa Castle. A totally haunted castle. I haven't really talked that much about how haunted it is. I haven't experienced it. But we're going to. October 25th from 7 to 11. If you heard my commercial, I meant it. So check out Patreon. That's patreon.com/StrangeBrow Radio. And if you want to contribute, that would be fantastic. All right, that's it for me. Hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful October. It's a full moon tonight. Ow. I guess it's only appropriate to say I will see you in the trees.